do have a few more stories here. And again, this is our story about typical Dems. And I love this headline out of In These Times. How targeting programs to poor people leaves out poor people. Seems like it might be kind of important. So now they want to means test the child tax credit, right? So in practice, that often means restricting benefits for the very few people who need it the most because they have to file paperwork. Okay. So one of the most effective anti-poverty programs in modern history. Again, don't always agree 100% with every word in every article. Okay, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think that there was a lot of hype and a lot of right, but they're talking about the history of the child tax credit, not just what was expanded this year. But this year, okay, it lifted over 4 million children above the poverty line, and then dropped them right back below it.
Yep.
All right, so what they did was they are trying to, and it's apparently gaining traction, is to only make it available to families earning under $75,000 per year. Right. Families, not individuals, but families.
Yeah. Crazy.
All right, but if your priority is to lift children out of poverty, this may seem like a reasonable change. Poor families remain eligible for the credit, right? So, okay, that's cool. But while targeting programs seems like an efficient way to allocate resources, they often struggle with lower take-up rates than those that are universal. Now, like, for example, I think even the COVID tests that have been allocated for the government, or the amount of housing money that was available. I think at one point there was 90% of the money that was allocated to provide for housing stipends was never actually claimed or was never filed. Nobody actually filed for the paperwork to grab it. I mean, oh, here you go. Here you go. Temporary needed assistance for needy families, Maine Cash Welfare Program, had only a record rate of 24.9% in 2016.
Right.
56% at the high and as low as 3% for the intended populations for highly targeted programs. In contrast, more universal programs had a far higher take-up rate, exceeding 90% in some cases. Okay. Universal programs tend to be better known than targeted ones.
Better than targeted ones.
Right. Yep. When everyone's eligible, it's more likely to come up in conversations, covered in media reporting. This is like the ARP, right? That they talked about, the ARP. Right? And then comparing the news coverage of these three programs in 2021 using Google Trends, stimulus checks had 3 times the coverage of rental assistance, and EBB wasn't even mentioned enough to be measured. Emergency broadband benefit.
Yep.
The programs aren't being discussed or covered by the media.
Tested.
People often won't hear about them or know to apply. And as of October, only 1 in 5 eligible Americans had even enrolled in emergency broadband benefit. I didn't even know that it existed.
Yep. Public receivers benefits program may vary significantly, depending on whether the program is more universal, more targeted to low-income people. Yep.
So, 2021 study by researchers, people at risk of eviction were significantly more likely to apply for emergency rental assistance if they first received a destigmatizing message about the program.
Yep. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It's just classic shit, pretty much. Like, don't cover the thing that like people need you to cover everything else.
Right?
Don't do it in a way that it will get coverage. Like, I mean, then even that is like putting them back into, yeah, it's
Here, even when the nearly universal credit, yeah, but it's only nearly universal, right? Okay. While lowering a child tax
Right.
credit
Whatever that
only
means.
targets people who have children. I mean, it's great, but it's still a huge
Right.
gap because there's a ton
Like
of Americans that don't. So,
nearly universal sounds like
right,
what
nearly
only counts
universal
in
to whom? To
horseshoes.
parents, yeah, but not
Right.
to every American.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, lack of awareness was an obstacle to getting low income families to enroll. Political negotiations Political negotiations are challenging, and if it comes down to a question of lowering the income cap or expanding the expanded CTC for good, which would plunge 4 million kids back into poverty, the choice is obvious. If we want to help as many struggling families as possible, we should fight not just to renew it, but to make it a more universal program, which it should be. But there should be
Yep.
more help for other categories of Americans, as well as parents of children. I think that would
You can
be
easily share the wealth in this country.
that would be
That would be nice.
fair. Yes, I don't see why we can't do that. Okay, so again, this was Jim Pugh, who I'm not familiar with for In These Times, but good stuff.